What's going on, guys? Thank you so much for tuning in. Today we are back with the Tacoma Overland build. This is a 2021 Toyota Tacoma TRD off-road that we actually got off auction wrecked. If you guys missed that series, make sure you check that out. We got this thing fully wrecked in the front, rebuilt it, and now we are on phase 2 of putting on aftermarket parts. Phase 1 was the Overland build with the tent and some BillieBars, and now we're doing the fun stuff, something that's been long overdue. We're going to be putting on some new suspension, giving it a little bit of a lift, and also some bigger tires and some better wheels. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. We got plenty of more coming with this Tacoma, with other cars. If you guys enjoy this video, give it a thumbs up. Really appreciate you guys tuning in, but I'm too excited. Let's get started. Let me show you guys what we ended up going with. Of course, the 6112s from Bilstein. These are probably the most popular shock for the Tacomas, and rightfully so. These are some beefy, chunky boys. Look at these, huge. It's like 2.5 inches, I believe. And we had it actually delivered pre-assembled. Ended up paying a little extra to have it pre-assembled, not to deal with compressing the spring. I don't have a spring compressor. And we went with the highest setting, which should give us about a 2-inch lift in the front. We have it at the 11.9 setting. For the rears, we went ahead and went with the regular 5100s without the reservoir. Didn't see a need for that. Not doing anything crazy. And of course, for the rear, we got the Icon out of leaf, the 1.5 inch. We're going to be removing the overload spring, replacing it with that. It also came with some new U-bolts. Yeah, I'm super excited. Let's get started. All right, so we got the wheel off. I already finished the other side. This is the driver's side. This is very easy and pretty straightforward. Just have to take your time. We're gonna start with disconnecting the sway bar, and then we're gonna go ahead and loosen the bottom control arm, and we'll go from there. Okay, so in order to remove the sway bar link, you have to loosen up this nut, and it's gonna all start spinning together. So you grab a Allen key, you put it in here, you hold it, and then you just grab a 17mm wrench and unscrew it like so while you hold it with the Allen key. I already loosened it up, so it's off here. Now, you're gonna have to keep both sides off, because once you put in the new shock, everything lowers, so the sway bar link won't go back into place. So you need to have both of these loose until you're ready to put everything together. And the last thing you do is put both sway bar links in at the end. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to the back of the lower control arm here, and I'm gonna mark it with a Sharpie to remember where I need to put back the bolt, because I don't have a torque wrench, just to get somewhat of a decent alignment. I'm still gonna get alignment anyways. You have to do that here, and you have to do it on that one as well. So what I'm gonna do right now is mark it with a Sharpie. Also, don't take these all the way out. We just need them a little bit loose to have access to this control arm moving. that the control arm is loose, we're gonna go ahead and unscrew the bottom of the shock. This is a 19mm socket. We're gonna go ahead and fully take that bolt out. Sometimes it gets stuck and it all spins together. Looks like this one came out pretty easy. If that happens, you're just gonna need a 19mm wrench on the other end, but looks like this one came out pretty simple. Okay, now that that bottom one is loose, we're gonna loosen the top. It's just 3 14mm nuts. We're just gonna go ahead and unscrew those, and then the shock will be free, and then we're gonna go from there. Now what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna put my jack underneath this lower control arm. I'm gonna raise it a little bit to give pressure to unscrew by hand the top bolts all the way. And then once I have that jack supporting the lower control arm, I'm going to loosen the front of the control arm to let it drop, which will be two bolts right here. We got one right here and one right here, and those are 19mm. So let's get that done. Look at the difference between the stock and the new Bilstein ones. Huge difference. I'm super excited to put these on. The new Bilstein ones come with some new nuts on top, so we're gonna take those off and slide the shock right in. Now remember guys, if you guys get these pre-assembled, you wanna make sure you get the correct shock, because they are different for each side of the clip setting. The higher clip setting is gonna be on the driver's side, the lower is gonna be on the passenger. So make sure you read the manual and see which one goes where. Once you put the new shock in, you're going to go ahead and reuse that bolt that came with the old shock. And I just hand tighten it on there. And then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to jack up the control arm just to align it back with the rest of the assembly. And then just hand tighten the bolts and then screw them on fully. And then I'm going to go ahead and fully tighten the shock right after at the bottom and then at the top. Next thing we're going to do is go ahead and tighten up that control arm all the way. I'm just going to try to line it up exactly where I marked it once I feel it getting tight there. And then from there we will continue and finish off assembling everything back together. And then the last thing is we're just gonna go ahead and reconnect that sway bar on both sides, and then that's gonna be it. Alright, the front is all done. As you can see, it was a little bit of work, but nothing crazy. Honestly, a lot easier than the Ram that I had. This was super simple, probably the easiest suspension replacement I've ever done. Just take your time. Some things get a little frustrated, but it was quite easy. Let's move on to the rear. So the rear, I've never actually done leaf springs by myself. I've done it once with some help, but it should be pretty straightforward as well. We'll give it a shot. I will try to guide you guys through it step by step, but check out how the front looks right now. So this is how the front looks. Might be kind of hard to tell, but it's definitely lifted. It's gonna settle a little bit more and drop down just a tad bit once the suspension fully settles. But for now, I'm pretty happy. It definitely needs alignment. I didn't do the best job putting things back together, try to keep them straight, but either way, after you get any suspension lift, you definitely need to get alignment done. It's kind of undrivable right now, but that's why I'm gonna go ahead and finish off the rear so I can get alignment done tomorrow. But anyways, let's go ahead and get started on the rear. We're gonna do a 1.5 add a leaf from Icon, as well as 5100 Bilstein suspension. Let's get started by lifting up the truck again. So for the rear, you're gonna go ahead and lift the truck by the rear diff, put it on some jack stands, and then hold it there. You're gonna have to lower the diff anyways to take out the leaves. So I have the jack there holding, supporting the diff. And now all I'm doing is just removing the bolt from the bottom of the shock. And then I'm gonna go ahead and move to the top. The top, you're gonna need some vice grips to hold it from spinning. So that's what I had there, and then I'm just unscrewing it. Then it just comes off pretty easy. Do not do both sides at the same time, or else you'll have a huge pain with the diff. Take your time and just do one side, finish up one side, and then move on to the other. In order to put on the new add a leaf, we have to cut off this bracket right here. We're gonna try to cut it really low right here, but there's also a rivet under there that we're gonna have to cut off. It was a little bit of a pain in the butt on the other side, but we're gonna have to get it done and cut this off. So let's get to it. All right, so we got that grinded off. No bracket here now. Now what we're gonna do is remove this brake line bolt, just so it's not stressing out the brake line. The next thing I'm doing is I'm removing the 4 nuts that are holding the U-bolts in place. We're going to be replacing those with the ones that Icon provided with the new leaf spring. Just go ahead and unscrew these, and the jack should be supporting the diff there. The next thing I'm doing is clamping down with some C-clamps both sides of the leaf springs to compress them together. This seemed to be the easiest, best way for me to separate the leaf springs, and you just have to take your time. You have to do it simultaneously, so one at a time, make sure they're pretty even. Once I have those leaf springs compressed, I'm going to go ahead and untighten the nut that's holding them together. And we're going to hopefully take that right off. If it doesn't come right off, you're going to have to lower the diff to separate to get underneath the leaf springs and hold down the bottom of the bolt so you're able to unscrew that nut. But luckily mine came out without giving me any trouble. Once you have that nut off, you're going to go ahead and lower the diff and do the same thing, but in reverse order. You're going to simultaneously remove the C-clamps to separate those leaf springs. What you're going to do next is go to your new outer leaf and you're going to take off the nut that was there holding it, as well as the sleeves and the bolts and nuts that are holding the sides. You're going to go ahead and remove those. You're going to reuse those once we put the leaf back on. The rest is pretty easy. The next thing you're going to do is just get that new leaf spring and put it there and try to align everything together as best as you could. And you're just going to go ahead and hire it with the jack. Try to get it through every single hole there so the leaf springs come together. It's very important that you try to get it as straight as possible on both sides. Make sure none of them are sticking out. Make sure every single bolt is aligned. And once that's all aligned, what you don't want to do is try to tighten that together with a nut. You're going to have to first clamp down the leaf springs together with the C-clamps again. Make sure there's no light shining through them. Make sure they're nice and tight, and then we'll go from there. Once you get the clamps nice and tight on there, you're going to go ahead and throw the nut on there as well. And then I went ahead and cut a little bit of the bolt for now. You're still going to have to cut more, but right now I did it just to get my socket on there. Once you get the nut on there nice and tight, you're going to want to go ahead and cut that bolt off as much as you can. The reason being is because the bump stop does not fit back on with the bolt being too long. So I went ahead and cut it there. Once you get that done, you're going to want to loosen up those clamps, again, evenly, one at a time. Get those off, get them out of your way. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to throw on that bump stop. We're going to throw on the new U-bolts that came with the Icon kit, and as well as that bottom clamp that holds it together, and the nuts that also came with the kit. And we're going to tighten everything down in a star pattern evenly as much as we can. And then the last thing for the leaf spring that we're going to do is we're going to get those sleeves with the bolts and nuts, put them in and secure them, as well as reattaching the brake line, which I didn't do because you have to figure out a way to put that somewhere. For now, I just went ahead and zip tied it so it's not dangling around. If you guys have any suggestions on how to reposition the brake line bracket, please let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I'll try to find an alternative to mount it on there. But zip ties for the win for now. And then the last and final thing that we're going to do is install the rear shocks. Right there I just showed you guys what the pattern is for putting in the hardware that it comes with. So what you do is literally just put the shock in, reuse the old bolt that it came with on the truck and reattach that. You're going to want to secure the bottom first, get that nice and tight, and then move on to the top. The rear Bilstein shocks have the same tighten mechanism as the sway bar links. You're going to use the Allen key and just tighten it down. Alright guys, just like that, we are done. That was pretty easy. I wouldn't say it was difficult. I'm really happy how it turned out. Looks great. I'm just really excited to finally get some wheels. I'm just waiting on those right now. Once we get some wheels, then we'll move forward from there. But let me show you guys how it looks right now lifted. So it's probably hard to tell the difference. I probably should have done a more detailed video. In the beginning of how it was, but definitely a lot taller in the front especially, and we got the rear all leveled out. Truck looks perfect with the level. I'm really stoked about that. Now we just gotta wait on the wheels. Let me know what you guys think I should do next to the truck. I might be upgrading the upper control arms. I'm not sure yet. I don't see why I had to. There's not much that would affect getting a different control arms right now. I am gonna probably do a cab mount chop once I get the tires that I want. I'm definitely gonna be rubbing. I could already see it, but it's not a big deal. I don't think it's that scary to do. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.